คุณผู้ชมคะสายตาของประชาคมโลกของวงการการทูตขณะนี้กำลังจับจ้องไปที่การหารือกันที่กรุงลอนดอนนะคะระหว่างคุณจอห์นแครีรัฐมนตรีว่าการกระทรวงการต่างประเทศของสหรัฐและคุณเซอร์เกย์ ลาฟรอฟรัฐมนตรีต่างประเทศของรัสเซียหารือกันเรื่องการที่เขตปกครองตนเองไครเมียซึ่งขณะนี้เป็นส่วนหนึ่งของยูเครนกำลังจะลงประชามติกันวันที่16มีนาคมวันอาทิตย์นี้นะคะว่าคนไครเมียนจะเข้าไปเป็นส่วนหนึ่งของสหพันธรัฐรัสเซียหรือต้องการที่จะอยู่กับยูเครนต่อไปเป็นการลงประชามติที่สร้างความปวดเสียนเวียนเกล้าสร้างความกังวลให้กับประชาคมโลกอย่างมากโดยเฉพาะต่อสหรัฐและสหภาพยุโรปค่ะนี่คือแผนที่นะคะสำหรับเขตปกครองไครเมียซึ่งอยู่บริเวณตะวันออกเฉียงใต้ของยูเครนซึ่งในอดีตก็มีความสัมพันธ์ที่ลึกซึ้งเป็นส่วนหนึ่งของอดีตสหภาพโซเวียตมาก่อนซึ่งก็มีความผูกพันกับรัสเซียประชากรส่วนใหญ่พูดภาษารัสเซียด้วยนะคะความเปลี่ยนแปลงที่เกิดขึ้นเพราะว่ารัสเซียไม่พอใจรัฐบาลกลางขณะนี้ของยูเครนที่ก่อนหน้านี้ผู้คนออกมาประท้วงไม่ต่ำกว่า4เดือนกดดันจนอดีตประธานาธิบดียานูโควิชซึ่งมีความสัมพันธ์ใกล้ชิดกับรัสเซียต้องลงจากตำแหน่งขณะนี้ความไม่พอใจของรัสเซียจึงอยู่ที่การไม่ยอมรับรัฐบาลกลางของยูเครนซึ่งสหรัฐและสหภาพยุโรปดูเหมือนจะมีท่าทีสนับสนุนค่ะความตึงเครียดที่กำลังเกิดขึ้นนี้กำลังจะนำไปสู่อะไรกับการลงประชามติในวันที่16มีนาคมเมื่อวันพุธที่ผ่านมาดิฉันได้สัมภาษณ์เอกอัครราชทูตรัสเซียประจำประเทศไทยนะคะถึงท่าทีของรัสเซียว่าจะเดินหน้าต่อไปอย่างไรถ้าผลการลงประชามติของคนไครเมียนต้องการที่จะไปอยู่กับรัสเซียจริงๆรัสเซียจะทนแรงกดดันจากชาติตะวันตกได้หรือไม่ติดตามจากตอบโจทย์นะคะหลังจากตอบโจทย์ดิฉันกลับมาค่ะวันนี้วันหยุดเขื่อนโลกติดตามความคืบหน้าของความพยายามสร้างเขื่อนที่สายน้ำสารวินซึ่งกำลังเป็นเรื่องที่นักอนุรักษ์เป็นห่วงอย่างมากค่ะติดตามตอบโจทย์กันก่อนค่ะ Ambassador Maria Sov, thank you for joining me for the program. I'm wondering what's the latest situation between Russia and Crimea.
The parliament of Crimea yesterday announced its independence.
And Russia has endorsed this announcement.
We have done nothing because we are waiting for referendum. There are two questions on referendum. First one, do you want to join Russian Federation? The second question is, do you want to remain in Ukraine, but with more rights and authorities? Two questions. So the population should answer all these questions, or whether they stay in Ukraine with more authorities, with more rights, or they join the Russian Federation as a subject of Russian Federation. So it's choice with the population. If they agree to join the Russian Federation, I think that our authorities will accept it because it's expression of will of Crimeans.
Do you think the signal must be quite clear from population of Crimeans because nearly 60% of Crimeans
more than 60% are Russians. Yes, ethnic Russians. And 25% Ukrainian, and 14–15% Tatar. But we shall see, because it's every referendum, the majority of the people should say they're willing at the time.
How do you read this situation? Because as far as the whole world is watching, Russia is backing up Crimea to be independent, to be part of Russia. The announcement of independence must be quite clearly signaling that Crimea really want to be part of Russia for sure, even without referendum.
Well, you see, this is the government and the parliament of Crimea. They clearly say that they wanted to join the Russian Federation, but we should respect democratic procedure. That's why referendum is being hosted in Crimea. So it's up to the decision of the people, because they are going to organize this referendum in very transparent and a very clear atmosphere. They're inviting the foreign observers, not only from Russia, but from the European Union too. They invited them to see what is happening, how it goes. But the problem is that why our president declared that there is possibility of deployment of Russian forces in case if the Russian-speaking people will be assaulted, persecuted, if their rights will be violated, and if they ask for help, for assistance. But this is the last resort. The last resort. We do not want any military actions in Ukraine. So we hope for the vote of the people of Crimea.
But the standoff seem very, very increasing, especially Ukrainian government in Kiev. They said they don't want to lose land of Crimea, 1 single centimeter, as part of Russia. How would be your response?
Do you remember President of Kosovo? The people of Yugoslavia was against, so to say, independence of Kosovo. What happened? There was not referendum. It was decision of local authorities. And all Western countries, United States, European Union, they supported. And they referred to the decision of United Nations International Court. So the problem was solved.
Russia is not worried that Western leaders and the U.S. said Russia is violating international law.
We are not violating. We are not violating. We are asking to the demand and to the will of the people of Crimea. Well, about the Kiev authorities, I can tell you a different story, because it's a very important thing, because it is not quite clear, because the Western mass media do not speak about it. But the fact is that the present-day authorities came to power unconstitutionally. It was a state coup. It was a state coup because they forced the legitimate President Yanukovych to flee the country. They threatened him. I tell you what happened. You see, on 21st of February, after the crisis was so rising, there was an agreement between the government of Yanukovych and the opposition parties signed with the mediation of foreign ministers of France, Germany, and Poland. This agreement envisaged that the government will not proclaim the emergency law. They will withdraw all police and law enforcement forces from the streets. They start constitutional reform, and they will convene the government of national unity with the participation of opposition. So it was a compromise, very strong compromise on the part of Yanukovych and that government.
Ex-President Yanukovych agree with that condition.
He signed this agreement with the opposition leaders in presence of foreign ministers of these 3 countries.
But you read that as a coup against him?
Yes. Why? I explain why. Because next day, 22nd of February, this opposition, which are very much under influence of nationalists, of extremist neo-Nazi forces, they broken this agreement. They didn't fulfill their obligations. They didn't withdraw these armed military people from the streets. They started occupying buildings, ministries. They started practically war against the government. And they forced Yanukovych the same day to flee the country.
If you could turn back the clock, what could have happened on that day, 21st of February, to make peace with Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine?
If the opposition fulfilled the obligations, it would be a peaceful way out of the crisis. Because opposition officially and legally entered the government, then was decided that presidential elections should take place in December. So it was all democratic procedures was envisaged by this agreement.
But just the day before, there was widespread happens of violence.
But the police was not using force. It was unarmed. But it was police who was under attack. You see, because they were peaceful demonstrators in Maidan Square, normal people, who really were discontent with the policy of government of Yanukovych. Many problems. They were protesting against many, so to say, policies of that government. But they had no arms.
Opposition forces have been on the street for several months, nearly 4 months in Ukraine, in Kiev.
November.
Western leaders, they see it as Russians sending troops to intervene in Kiev, in Ukraine.
You see, when this demonstration started, American, European ministers, parliamentaries came to Kiev. They were speaking on Maidan. They were speaking, they were also encouraging the people to, so to say, to protest. But no Russian parliamentary figure, no Russian official was at that time, never appeared at Maidan Square because it was interference into internal affairs. We never did it. And there was no any military movements on part of Russia. It happened after the coup d'etat, after this undemocratic seizure of power, and after the people of Crimea, after the repression, they asked help. What happened?
Where is our President Yanukovych at the moment? Is Russia
Well,
protecting him?
it seems that he is Russian because yesterday he gave a speech at Rostov-na-Don. It's a south Russian city.
Does Russia still have hope that one day he can get back to Kiev and being president of Ukraine again?
I don't think he will return because now it's impossible. Impossible. Although he is still, we consider him legitimate president, but he lost power. He lost power. He can't return because the situation changed. Yes, it is unlawful government, but it is government. We should see the realities. He cannot return. If he say that I'll return and so on, but I think he will not return.
How does Russia see relations between Ukraine and Russia in the future?
For us, of course, it was a very uneasy situation because you know that Ukrainians are our brothers. Practically, we have, so to say, one roots. We are Slavs. We for centuries we had one state. We're living with each other for many years. So for us, it's troublesome this situation. But it was not our choice to start these anti-democratic events in Ukraine. So you see, still there is a way out of this situation. There is. It is to start constitutional reform in Ukraine. It was one of the main parts of the agreement of February 21st, to start constitutional reform. That means to take into consideration the views, the approaches, the opinions of populations of all parts of Ukraine, not only Kiev and western part, but also east part where Russian-speaking people living.
Is this like putting more pressure on Ukrainian government to really think of constitutional reform by supporting Crimea to have referendum and being independent from Ukraine?
Well, you see, referendum, it's not dependent to the developing of situation in Ukraine. It's a different question. Because the situation was created by the present-day authorities. We didn't want, as Western countries say, annex Crimea. They had no such plans. But the developing situation, the actions of that government, with Kiev, they, so to say, made us to do this, due to the will, to the expression of the Crimean people. But we say that the situation, the crisis, the Ukrainian crisis, can be solved by this, by starting this constitutional reform, by organizing the government of national unity with the participation not only those who are in Kiev, but only those persons, very outstanding, not outstanding, but very famous persons who are in many other regions, who are members not of this right vector, right sector, this is right-wing force, but other parties. To be part of the government, to be part of the constitutional structures, and that referendum, that constitutional reform should be adopted in all national referendum by all the people of Ukraine.
Is Russia ready to go to war with America and Western Europe?
I think that no one wants to go to war. I don't think that the United States and Europeans wanted any war with Russia, and we do not want war with anyone.
If you read the mind of President Putin, do you think he will really keep to his words that military resort will be the last option?
Well, you see, we hope that it won't happen. We see that the will of Crimean people is will be clearly known in several days. So this is democratical procedure. So there is no need for any escalation because the people are expressing their will, as they did in many other countries. Say Scotland, say Catalonia in Spain. No one objects, and no one is going to fight and to go to war against Scotland or Catalonia because they wanted independence. They want independence. So I don't think.
From the situation, political analysts see this is very much massive crisis between U.S. and Russia relations after Cold War.
We don't refrain from discussions, from talks, from conversations with the United States, with the European Union, with Western countries. You know that our president, our prime minister, foreign minister, other officials are in constant talks with the Western leaders, discussing the situation, explaining our approach, telling our arguments to justify our position. So of course, we want peaceful settlement of the crisis according to the way I just explained to you. So we think that Western countries may contribute to normalizing situation in Ukraine by supporting the idea of constitutional reform.
What if Ukraine doesn't want to go down this road? They don't want to have constitutional reform like what Russia sees, and they want to take side with Western leaders and the U.S.? You think the situation will get worse?
Maybe if the population of eastern and southeastern regions will be threatened, if there will be imposition of the rules and of decisions of the Kiev government, and if the people, especially Russian-speaking people, will be persecuted, will be assaulted, of course there will be no peace in Ukraine, no peace. The situation may even worsen.
The real loser will be Ukrainian people then?
Well, Ukrainian people, you know that no one asked Ukrainian people when they staged this coup. It was organized by very few people. And they did ask Ukrainians, not Russian speaking, but Ukrainians, whether they adopt this coup or this change of power. They didn't ask them.
Does it mean for the new leader to be the leader of Ukraine, that one in question has to be approved by Russia?
You see, if the presidential elections will take place in a transparent atmosphere, and if the citizens and the population of all provinces of Ukraine will take part in these elections, and they will be afforded to express their will, if it really will be transparent and the real expression of will of the population, well, it should be accepted. As it will be, I hope, accepted by the Crimea referendum.
Do you see Russia has upper hands over Ukraine and Western countries because you have natural gas pipeline?
The sanctions is a double-edged sword, you see, because if someone imposes sanctions on another, he should think about the consequences, because no one can impose sanctions without a proper answer and without damaging its own position. Say, for example, if really United States and European Union impose sanctions on Russia, so it will not only worsen our trade, investment, and other relations. I don't say about political ties, cultural ties, so on, but it also will make difficult our common efforts in fighting terrorism, in fighting drugs, in fighting piracy, in settling regional conflicts, say in Afghanistan and Syria. It will affect our negotiations with Iran. It will affect our common struggle for climate change, for sustainable development. You see, so many problems will be damaged. Do we want this? We don't. We don't want imposing sanctions. Even now, we have talks with the government. I mean, our prime minister was talking to this interim prime minister of Ukraine about economical issues, not political, but about economical issues. So we want to have normal relations, normal economic relations, normal political relations, but not with the government which came to power unconstitutionally.
Do you see finally economic factors will have more weight over political factors, and you may achieve resolution through economic means?
You see that it's the policy and the economy are very much interrelated, and especially in the Western camp, because you see now they're speaking about political sanctions, so to say cutting relations between cultural relations and political ties with the Russian. They are saying about, so to say, stopping, simplifying visa process. They say that they stop deliberating on a new agreement between Russia and the European Union, which are economical problems. So it is very, very interrelated. It cannot say that which is preferable, which is in the first place, which is in the second place. It's very much interrelated.
Among diplomatic community, I'm just wondering, how do you mingle with U.S. ambassador in Thailand or European country ambassadors to Thailand at the moment? Have you met? Have you talked?
Well, we didn't speak about Ukraine. It's difficult to speak to American ambassador because she practically doesn't visit any receptions, which is regular here in Bangkok. But they know our position. They know our position, and of course these deliberations are taking place on the high level between our ministers, between the heads of states. So we explain our position. They explain, they have their own position.
We saw the picture, the photo of President Barack Obama on the phone at least twice with President Putin.
Yeah.
Can you guess why didn't it work out?
Yes, you see, as far as I know, we United States, they are collecting proposals for solving this Ukraine crisis. And they gave us some documents about that. We analyzed it, and we have our answer, our approach, our view. So we're exchanging our views. That's why when yesterday, Mr. Putin had a working meeting with Mr. Lavrov, our Foreign Minister. Mr. Lavrov explained that we are in permanent touch with Mr. Kerry to exchange views and to work out any road map out of this crisis.
Do they really talk?
Yes, they talk. You see, they had in Europe several rounds of talks. They had permanent telephone talks. And we invite Mr. Kerry to come to Moscow with the proposals which they propose for resolution of this crisis. And we're waiting for him in Moscow.
The next move have to be for John Kerry to visit Moscow.
We invite him to visit.
Did he turn down the invitation?
No, he didn't turn. He didn't. He was to come yesterday or the day before yesterday, but he delayed this meeting, this coming, because he said that he's working on a new document.
When will he be in Moscow?
Well, we don't know. We don't know,
but
we are inviting him. We're waiting for him, because they say that they are working on their proposals for the settlement. So they have a new one. They so to say revised it, and they so to say made it more so to say more detailed. And so we're waiting. We're waiting their proposals, and of course we are preparing our approaches, our so to say our proposals for them. So we hope that we'll be in touch with the United States, first of all, with the European Union. So we're not refraining from discussing the political solution of the problem.
From the crisis, do you still see solution by diplomatic measures?
Well, you see, diplomatic measures alone cannot solve the problem. Much depends on the authorities of Ukraine. Much depends what kind of policy they will conduct, what kind of internal steps will do, whether they really will take into consideration while electing the government, while electing president, while electing the government structures, whether they will take into consideration the opinion, the approaches, the will of all people, of all political forces, of all ethnic forces of Ukraine. If it will be one-sided decisions, there will be problems. If the will and the proposals of other parts of Ukraine will be taken into consideration, it will be a chance to settle the problem peacefully.
For you, would it be better if the United States is out of this equation?
Well, it's difficult to say because unfortunately, the United States and European countries, they supported these illegitimate authorities in Ukraine. Because we are saying, we are showing how they came to power. We are showing who is behind this government now. And it is common threat not only to Ukraine and to Russia. I mean these extremist, nationalist and neo-fascist forces. They are also dangerous for Europeans. They are dangerous for the United States. We should remember the lessons of the Second World War. We should unite our efforts to stop these extremist forces.
For Thai people, we've been following the situation in Ukraine, which happened at about the same time of having people protesting on the street. What do you think Thai people can learn from Ukraine?
Well, I don't know. Because you see, unfortunately, Thailand and Thai people have so many problems here. And I understand them when they are trying to solve their own problems. Maybe there are some political commentators may comment on the situation in Ukraine, which they are doing. But mostly they are listening to the Western sources. And what is, so to say, what appears in your newspapers, it's Western views. It's not, it's one-sided view.
How has political situation in Thailand affected Russian tourists to Thailand? Does it have any effect at all?
No affection. It didn't affect because the Russian people still, as I told you, they believe that Thailand is one of the best destinations, one of the best countries to spend their time. And they come irrespective of all situation. Even if when we tell, the Russian foreign minister tells that something happens in Thailand, in Bangkok.
Thailand is the largest trading partner of Russia in Southeast Asia.
Yes, that's true.
To what extent do you think you can cooperate with Thailand to enlarge your role in ASEAN?
Yes, you know that we pay very much attention to developing relations with this region, with Eastern and this Asia-Pacific region. Because, as you know, this is the most rapidly developing region. It is recognized by all. So the future, it is locomotive of the world development, this region. This way, of course, we want to have more close economic, more close political ties with these regions. And you know that this is a part of our plans to incorporate Far East and Siberian regions into the world economy. And this is because this is Far East and Siberia, it's a part of Asia. It's a part of this region.
Do you see the role of Russia will have more opportunity if you take side with ASEAN, Russia, China, and to counterbalance with United States in the region?
Well, you are trying to push me for kind of geopolitics, so to say, assessment. Well, you see, we have a very good, very long-standing relations with ASEAN countries. We have a program of cooperation. We have constant ties. We are participating in all international gatherings which are organized by the ASEAN countries. And this is a good practice. And of course, although China is not a part of the ASEAN, for example, but we have very good, very close, very friendly strategic relations with China. So we do not think that China is trying, so to say, to impose its will, political will or economic dominance on this region. They're developing their relations for the purpose of the internal development. They want to become a strong economy, more stronger than now. And if they are offering good proposals for the ASEAN countries, it's good. They're not competing politically or in any military way. Why the Western countries say that they are trying to strengthen China military because they want to dominate here military? So I don't think it's true. I think this is geopolitical games. It's political games.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for joining me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
ขอบคุณค่ะ Thank you. และการหารือเพื่อพยายามแก้ปัญหาวิกฤตในยูเครนรวมถึงการลงประชามติในไครเมียขณะนี้ยังหารือกันอยู่นะคะเป็นภาพที่ได้มาจาก flickr.com เผยแพร่ผ่านทางทวิตเตอร์ค่ะเผยแพร่โดยทางกระทรวงการต่างประเทศของสหรัฐเป็นภาพของจอห์นแคร์รีและเซอร์เกย์ลาฟรอฟรัฐมนตรีต่างประเทศสหรัฐและของรัสเซียหารือกันอย่างเคร่งเครียดนะคะไม่ต่ำกว่า3ชั่วโมงแล้วที่กรุงลอนดอนแต่ดูเหมือนบรรยากาศในการหารือจะพยายามพูดคุยกันเป็นการส่วนตัวแต่ดิฉันเชื่อว่าคงจะมีรายละเอียดที่ต้องเจาะลึกพูดคุยกันมากมายนะคะอย่างที่เมื่อสักครู่ท่านทูตรัสเซียประจำประเทศไทยระบุไปแล้วว่ามีเอกสารมีรายละเอียดอย่างมากเลยที่จะต้องหารือกันระหว่างสหรัฐและรัสเซียเรื่องวิกฤตที่กำลังเกิดขึ้นในยูเครนค่ะคุณผู้ชม